Johnny's saying, and that's what caught him out.
Yes, I mean, if you lose the benefit of the retardation from the gearbox, as well as the braking, and in the wet you use the gearbox to help the braking quite a lot, maybe more so than you would do in the dry, and therefore if he didn't have that assistance, he was harder on the brakes to slow the car down, and of course then the brake will lock up, and once he was into that situation, there was nothing he could do.
Let's take a look at the start once again. He got a good start, did Baguette, and then you had the two Aston Martins running side by side. They were fairly careful there, and in fact I was impressed with everybody through the first turn because it's a tightening corner.
Yes, it was a clean start by everybody. I mean, in difficult circumstances, some of the drivers not having had any contact. Well, look, you can see
there was a bit of touch there.
There was,
yeah.
Yes, from the Marcus Winkelhock and back of the Darren Turner car, and down into turn 4, very, very tight. The other Aston on the outside, Alex Miller, falls in line behind that sister car.
That was tight, wasn't it? That was really tight. Look how wide. Oh, that was interesting how wide the Ford had gone down to that a first hairpin. And then you saw, this is the onboard view of what happened to Baguette. Well, it did actually, I think it did go to neutral.
It did go into neutral, actually. It looks like it went neutral, then he got it pushed again, he got first gear. This was a little bit later on that lap. So he did have a problem that confirmed on screen that the car would appear to have found neutral when it should have found first gear. He had to go for it again, but by which time he was into literally hunting out the gravel.
Yeah, interesting. You can see on the data logging screen it went to 0 rather than 1 for first gear. So certainly Bertrand Baguette having a problem on the down change.
This is where you'd like a pair of good screen washers on your race car, because a lot of muck on the screen of the lead Aston Martin, Darren Turner. And of course, that's for the back with the Hexus Aston.
Well, Stefan Mucker will be looking forward to taking over the car from Darren Turner later on. Let's go and hear from him now.
Stefan, Darren and Alex are currently sat 1-2. Will they race each other?
I think the key thing is to stay on track in the moment. As you can see, it's very difficult outside, many mistakes, and the key thing is stay on the track, and I think that's what they want to do, both.
Thank you.
Yes, I think that's the key thing at this point. I mean, such a narrow, tight, twisty little circuit. There's the team boss, team owner, and I'm sure he's quite happy, but he looks a bit nervous at the moment because it's still very early stages in this race.
Yes, with 47 minutes remaining, and within 12 minutes the pit lane will actually be open. But that's the issue I was talking about. Darren Turner has not got great visibility. There's always the concern about putting your wiper on, because you might actually drag more dirt onto your windscreen and might get a smear rather than get a clear windscreen. Still clearing the stones away. That was from the Ford number 41, the lead car, being dragged back onto the track, so getting all the gravel. That was almost like a bow wave when it came back onto the circuit.
Yeah, and as we've seen, these gravel tracks are very soft and quite big stones as well, so it does have a very effective way of stopping the car from hitting the barriers.
Damage to the Dunbar car in 14th place, the second of the Corvettes. There you can see it, the left-hand side, and of course that car being driven by Jerome Dunbar, who got into trouble on the opening lap in order. So the left front of that car suffering relatively heavy damage, but not having any impact, no body rub on the tyres so far.
No, but it's the car he shares with Ho Pin Tung, the Chinese driver, who again didn't get any laps himself this morning in the warm-up because of the way the session was stopped under red flag for Jan Claire's spin. Umbrellas, are they coming down or going back up again?
I think he must have bought that one down in the silk market in downtown Beijing. It isn't the real thing.
It's not even that windy today. We've hardly got any breeze, so I do hope it hasn't been blown inside out. Stefan Mucker waiting to see, everyone anxiously waiting to see when the safety car is going to be coming back in. I don't think it's going to be long now because the clear-up operation is going on, but definitely a few people getting some more hoods over them. Looks as though the rain might be coming down a little bit more once again. Still plenty of time to go in this race.
Well, there's not a breath of wind anywhere, and the rain's just the clouds hanging over the circuit, and it's just falling vertically. So racetrack is not indicating it's going to dry up. There we see now some of the Hexus Puccini's car giving a quick wipe, and that's the danger. If you haven't got enough water on the screen, you get a smear.
Yeah. And that can be quite difficult. You're on board the number 21 Nissan here of David Brabham. His wiper's working effectively.
Yeah, and that's an effective wiper. I mean, it really...
But the rain is definitely coming down again.
So Darren Turner still is always getting it going now.
It is working. I wondered for a moment whether his wiper would stop, but no, it's okay. He is. And here we go. The safety car peels in, and it is Darren Turner who now leads from teammate Alex Muller. Aston Martin 1 and 2 as they go across the line, but look, the Lamborghini of Marcus Winkelhock's right in there chasing. So is Nico Verdonk in the Corvette. and Verdonk loves these tight, twisty tracks. We saw his pace in a bit of a one-off outing he had at Navarra earlier on this year when he drove with Mike Hazelman the rest of the field through the first corner. On this restart, everybody's still jostling for position, but the two Aston Martins are now ruling the roost here at Golden Port.
It's Nico Verdonk who's really pushing the Lamborghini, who's looking to make up a position. He used a different line into turn 4, he's using a different line through turns 5 and 6.
Turner sliding a bit there, wasn't he?
Yes.
Nicely under control. Turner leads from Alex Muller and Marcus Finkelhoff, as you say. Nico Verdonk looking aggressive, and then we've got all the Nissans together. Brabham is running in 7th place. Dumbreck is 8th. Michael Krum is in 9th. You're on board with David Brabham, who is up behind the 4 GT of Christopher Nygaard.
And he's basically been all over the back of the 4 GT since the lights went out. Big tank snapper from Alex Muller. And that was through turns 11 and 12. That's the quick little flip-flap. Lamborghini looks to go down the inside, try and take advantage, but not enough space covered by Muller. But that'll be a heart-stopping moment for the Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, but it's given Darren Turner a little bit of a break there, hasn't it? Because he lost a couple of car legs. Thankfully, from Alex Muller's point of view, the Lamborghini wasn't right on his tail. But look at Nico Verdonk here.
Yeah, he's the car that I think has got the potential to make ground. Of course, Marcus Winkelhock's focused right on the back of the Aston Martin, but in doing so, he may need to be careful. Verdonk will take that position.
Yeah, and Verdonk raced regularly in the series last year in one of the Hager Motorsport Maseratis. As I say, he's an occasional visitor this season, but he's got a lot of experience, and he's hounding that Lamborghini. The Lamborghini very fast here in the dry, perhaps not quite got that margin in the wet. And for Marcus Winkelhock, he's not really driven this car in the wet until now, so he's still learning the car. But what a chance still to score useful points over Michael Krum. By the way, Krum is now ahead of Dumbreck. Look at this. That was the pass, I think, up ahead. Michael Krum getting past Peter Dumbreck, and you saw it from on board the Hexus Aston Martin of Andrea Piccini.
And Piccini trying to make it through as well, but covered by Peter Dumbreck, so that's only a 1 car loss back to turn 13, 14. And I think a little bit more care from Alex Muller that last time coming through turns 11 and 12.
Crucial manoeuvre that, though, John, from Michael Krum, because that's got them up into 8th place. He now chases after David Brabham. Not in the points in the qualifying race, but it would certainly put him back in the points in the championship race.
Well, the key is grid position. That's what everybody who didn't get a good run in qualifying is looking for, is grid position for the championship race.
Points really matter now as we get into these last 2 events of the season. This one, and then a gap to Argentina, where the season comes to its finale, and it's looking as though it's going to be very, very close indeed. The Lamborghini currently running in 3rd place in this race, remember, is 2nd in the points, and that is the other driver of that Lamborghini. He will have seen Michael Krum moving up the order, and look, his car is on the attack, trying to get past Alex Muller.
Yeah, coming through 8 and 9, tried to make space down the inside, the Aston, a little bit wider at the apex, and not quite enough room, and of course, it's just the momentum off the corner. The Aston was able to consolidate, then back up now through turns 11 and 12. That's where the Aston got a bit leery a couple of laps ago, this time fine.
Yep, looking good at the moment, but the Corvette's in there as well, so he's got to be a little bit cautious here, Marcus Finkelhoff, as he goes on the attack in the Lamborghini. There he is, the Ali car, because he's got that Team China Corvette breathing down his neck at the same time. Darren Turner has a 1.5 second advantage, which around this little track is actually quite reasonable. He'll be happy with that. Look at them sliding these big, powerful cars. When you've got 600 brake horsepower going through the rear wheels with no traction control, that takes a lot of throttle control from each and every one of these drivers.
And of course, the cars themselves over 1,000 kilograms, so that also makes a significant difference in the amount of grip that you're going to have. As we watch the battles further down the field.
Yeah, Michael Krum really bearing down on David Brabham now, isn't he? The battle of the Nissans. You're on board with Krum, and he's behind the Sumo Power car of David Brabham here. Now, does he take a chance and go for the move?
He does, he's got it too. Michael Krum clearly very comfortable indeed in these conditions, having the car worked on, got it to how he likes it after that car went out in the first qualifying round on Friday, where an error from Lucas Lewis, so that car having to start at the back of the field.
Well, certainly Brabham didn't fight it as hard as somebody else might have done.
But intelligently didn't fight it. He knows that Michael Krum has caught him. He's caught his teammate, or the other sister, JR Motorsports car. So he did the right thing, let the quicker of the Nissans go, and see what he could do with the rest of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the championship, for Nissan to try and win the Drivers' Championship, certainly it's crucial for Krum to gain as many places as possible here. We're back on board with Marcus Finkelhoff. He's not as close, is he, as he was to Alex Muller a lap or so ago?
No, he dropped back a lap ago. He was right on the tail of the Aston Martin. Dropped back. Keep an eye also on the Corvette. Nico Verdonk in 4th place. He was harrying the Lamborghini a lap or two ago. Doesn't appear to be anywhere around it right now from this camera position. Back into turns 8 and 9, and the Lamborghini a little bit less grip on the front than the Aston, but better traction off turn 9. And this is the longest straight here at this Golden Port circuit, 300 metres in length.
Yeah, and not even in 6th gear. They only get up to 5th. Just listen to the engine. There's an early up change. Oh, problems for Bas Leinders there. That's the other Ford GT. We've seen one out already. Now Bas Leinders is limping around.
Bit of damage to the front. The splitter looks like it's slightly detached, hard to tell. There's the second of the Corvettes with that damage we've already picked up on.
Now, the two Hexas Aston Martins are running around together at the moment. Andrea Piccini in 10th. That means Clivio Piccioni's gained one, I think. And he's gone past a car. He's now up to 11th. So the two Hexas cars, but they need to find more than this because they're looking at chasing down the team's championship in particular. Only 5 points behind JRM coming into this event, and opportunities for them to score, but they've got to move those cars up. Remember, the pit stops are only 3.5 minutes away now, and that could change the complexion of this race hugely.
And you can hear how much they're having to balance the steering and throttle coming out of the exit of turn 6, then hard on the brakes again. Another opportunity, not quite. Alex Muller able, and again the Aston on power out of turn 9. The back snakes around, looking to get out of the spray of the Aston coming up into turn 10, hard on the brakes. Just keep the pressure on, that's all he can hope to do, hope to force another mistake from Alex Muller, particularly in this part of the track where the Aston maybe isn't quite as stable.
Impressive performance from the Astons, though. We expected all the mid-engined cars to be very strong, and sure enough, they were fast in free practice here, because the weight of the cars predominantly over the back wheels gives them good traction out of the hairpins, but the Astons have shown great pace all weekend, and they seem to have it in the wet too. But Marcus Finkelhoff feels he could get past Alex Muller if he can just find the space.
Well, certainly he's putting pressure on Muller in the Aston Martin. We've got, 2.5 minutes before the pit lane is open. I wonder who's going to be the first to dive in and do the driver change.
Yeah, we're getting close to that now, and this is fast, furious action. There's no time to relax driving this track. That tiny short straight, the rest of it you're cornering one way or the other, compromising the exit of one corner to try and get the entry point correct for the next one. Darren Turner's doing a beautiful job out front at the moment, leading by 1.3 seconds.
Normally 1.3 seconds, we've been saying not enough. But in these conditions, it gives Darren Turner the ease of knowing he's not under pressure, he's got nobody ahead of him, and he can just choose the line he wants and do the job he's best. Again, Alex Muller's car looks really, really fidgety at both an entry and an exit of some of these other corners.
Yeah, that was the section where he had that mishap a few laps ago. And it's so easy, I tell you what, if you make the tiniest little error here, he takes a wider line through the last couple of corners, trying to find the grip up on the outside. But actually, it's hard to know where the grip lies on this surface. It is good surface, but Max Martin was telling us earlier, it didn't seem to be a specific wet line. It's just a question of avoiding the worst of the bumps.
The Corvette dropped away from the Lamborghini, but now Nico Verdonk is beginning to catch up again to the tail of Marcus Winkelhock, and he's dropped back slightly also to from the tail of the second place Aston Martin. The seesaw of these conditions, and just where you find grip, you can make improvements, and everybody will find every lap is almost different to the previous.
Interesting, look, for example, the last lap around, John, the fastest lap was set by Christopher Nygaard in the Belgian Racing Ford GT, which is actually running in 5th place and not being caught at the moment by Michael Krum, because Nygaard is the fastest of anybody. You just see him in the back of that shot. Nygaard in the yellow Ford GT, fastest man on track at the moment.
I think the reason is that he's been running pretty much on his own for the last 2 or 3 laps, whereas the leading 4 cars, or the sort of second, third and fourth cars, are in effect having a battle not just with what's ahead but with what's behind, and their focus has not been so much on driving as being a big defence.
So Winkelhock still following, but watch the time tick away. I don't think none of the leaders obviously are going to be able to get in on this lap, but next time around we will see some of the leaders coming in for their stop. But will all of the leaders choose to come in, or will some stay out there a little longer? Darren Turner with an advantage of 1.8 seconds, still opening up the gap. He gained 4/10 over these two, are battling for second. And right behind them, of course, the 4th place Corvette. We're back on board with Winkelhock. Great racing this, really enjoyable. Pit window is open, and it's Aston Martin versus Lamborghini as down there in the pits, the other guys are getting ready to take over from their teammates.
The one car I'm going to keep an eye on is car 23, Michael Kroom. Started at the back of the field, up to 6th place. He is in a groove.